Hello, this is the first video of the tutorial related to page transactions with the implementation of the framework Guará. So just to give a quick context, so Guará is a Python framework, so it's designed to primarily for UI test automation. So it's inspired in other well-known patterns like page objects, app actions, screenplay, and it's based on page transactions pattern. So the main idea of this pattern is to give the main attention to the transactions and not to the UI components. So here we are going to take the transactions, the interactions that the user does in the interface as a first-class citizen. Okay. So first of all, let's install the framework. So let's grab it here and do to our source. Let's install our virtual environment. Sorry. And let's activate it. Let's install the framework. So here we can see it's installed. Okay, so we are going to use Selenium. So in this case, let's install it while we talk about other things. So while it's installing, let's go to the application that we are going to use in this example. So here we have a simple page where is a to-do list manager. So it has some transactions. The first one is add tasks. So keep attention when I talk about transactions. This is a collection of interactions, and I don't care about the UI components. So for example, we have here add task. We can search tasks in this to-do list manager, and we can remove tasks. So when we add a task, we just push this button and the task is added to this application. It has an ID, and I can do a search using this ID, or I can just search for a partial name. So if you just add other and we search, we can see that we have this, and if we search for a different word or term, we have a different result. Okay, and we also have the operation, the transaction to remove a task. So this is not based on any kind of database, or it's not persisting the data. So every time we refresh this page, our data is lost. Okay. So let's start the implementation of this using the Guará framework. First of all, we have this simple syntax. So it's intended to be like plain English. So here you can see that we have an application, and at this application, at the page of this application, we do something. We can do this with some parameters, like for example, we add tasks with title do something, and after this we assert the result. So we assert it matches a condition. So we have a bunch of assertions that we can replace here and assert that the expected result is achieved. Okay, so let's get this simple example here. We just need to go to our Visual Studio. Let's add file called test demo, and let's grab the import here. So we need Selenium. Let's check if it was installed correctly. It was. And we also need the Guará, okay, the Guará transaction. Let's remove this for now because we don't need this. We still don't need this. Let's create our first test. Let's call it test demo. And as I'm using Copilot, it gives me some tips, but I will not use it for now. I will just create an application and I will pass this WebDriver here, okay? I will remove these things. So when we do this, we are defining an application. We are defining the invoker of the test, and we are giving it a driver. So the driver can be anything you want. It can be Selenium, it can be a driver for Playwright, for things related to test of Linux components. It's not restricted to UI components, so it can be anything. I will show you it later in the examples. So if you go to the documentation here, we just need a driver here, okay? And as we have this application, we have a bunch of methods that we can use. So in this case, I will use when just to make the readability better. When add something, that's the name of my transaction. I will not put any parameter right here. Assert it is equal to something. I will call it full just for example. Okay, so now that we have this simple structure, we can do it for all the transactions that we have. Let's say search and remove, but we'll not do this right now. Let's remove it and wait a little bit. Let's first define our transaction. That is the transaction that we are going to test. In this case is the add task. I will call this add task to make it explicit. Okay, and it will not receive any parameter. It will inherit from abstract transaction. So let's grab from here the documentation. So we have this import here. We can just put it here, and we can replace this. Copilot is bothering me. We'll do the C. Okay. Now that we have the add task inheriting from the abstract transaction, for the framework, we just need to define the do method, and the do method will do the things to us. So in this case, I will just pass. I'll do anything. I'll just path it, and I will run the test. So let's stop for a while and check their execution. Okay, we're back. So I had to install PyTest also. So pip install PyTest. It's already installed. And if we run the test, we can see it will open the browser and it will just fail. Okay, it's expected because we didn't implemented this method. Okay, so to do this, we need reserved a keyword that's called self driver. Okay, and let's just return this driver. It's something that we are going to use in all the tests. So let's just return this and check what happens here. We can execute it again. The browser is executed and nothing happens. Well, yeah, it didn't work because we were defining class, not defining a class here. So we were defining a method. So we need to change it to class, and when we run it again, it opens the browser and it gives us some tips about the problems that happens here. So here we can see we have some logs, and the actual result for the assertion was the driver that we provided, but expected was true, so was full. So we can see here that this framework is returning the driver, but we are expecting full. So that's the main flow of this workflow. You define an application, you define the method that you want to use to improve the readability. You provide the transaction that you want to test, and you assert its return. So anything that we return here will be asserted by this assert method. This is not magic. This is just the architecture of this framework. So if, for example, we return full here and we run the test, we see that it works fine. Okay, so let's grab this in our minds, because we are going to use these concepts, the return and the assert, to do the other tasks and implement this task properly. Okay, I will stop for now, and I hope you in the next video.